Well, how look, little buddy?
Hey, can I get a suit like that?
Well, if you be good, I'll let you use this one day. When the choir director told me he was bringing the choir down here tonight, I asked him if he would help me with my story. He said he would, so here goes.
Recently, there's a lot of talk about the NBA and why ratings are down. Some people say it's the number of threes that are being taken. Others say it's because there are super teams. Others say it's because basketball is not as physical as it used to be. But if you look at what coincides with the drop in NBA ratings, it's technology. It's the smartphone. People didn't have individual smartphones in their pockets until the early 2010s. And once that happened, everyone's attention was split. And the way that I can prove this to you is if I show you this scene as a Gen Xer, you can almost word for word recite it. I think there must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. After a few moments of Charlie Brown basically being Charlie Brown and complaining about Christmas, Linus responds, "Charlie Brown, you're the only person I know that could take a wonderful season like Christmas and turn it into a problem." And then he goes on to say the famous retort, "Of all the Charlie Browns, you're the Charlie Browniest." Now, is this saying that this was a show that was so much better than all the other shows? Well, if you ask a Gen Xer, I'd say yes. But that said, we know this show because we were all watching it at the same time. And that's because there were fewer things to watch. And that meant that the eyeball, the attention, was so much more important then, because if you wanted to have everyone's attention, you needed to have a show that was worthy of it. Enter Webster. 1984 revealed familiar shows to us like The Cosby Show, of a prominent doctor and lawyer who happened to be black living in an upscale area in New York and dealing with upscale black family issues. Or Miami Vice, a salacious show about Miami's underbelly, yet showing the sexy and revealing, if not tempting side of a city that was coming into its own. But what 1984 may be known for most is the historic landslide election that was won by Ronald Reagan. He won this election by a total of 525 electoral votes to 13. He lost one state. This was a sign of solidarity across the United States that whatever Ronald Reagan was doing, they wanted more of it. It is in this backdrop that it was this little guy who was the rage of television and the person picked to be the star of the Christmas special of the most popular TV network in America. But he needed help for one really tough guy.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. Is that a good job?
Well, in July is not too good of a job. And if you're thinking about applying for the job, I think you better gain about 5 more pounds. And what kind of kid asks Santa Claus a question like that this close to Christmas?
A kid that doesn't care too much about Christmas. And a lot of people agree with me. Look at all those people who walk right by you. You think they care about Christmas?
Well, I don't know. Just because they don't put some money in my chimney, that doesn't mean they don't care about Christmas.
It's hard to overstate how big of a deal Mr. T was in 1984. He had his own breakfast cereal. He had his own Saturday morning cartoon show, at least for a year or two. He was the famous B.A. Baracus in the popular A-Team show that we waited with bated breath for every single week. He was everywhere, and he was famous for his one-liners like, "I pity the fool," or as he often said on the A-Team, "I ain't getting on no airplanes." But maybe his most famous one-liner came as Clubber Lang in Rocky III.
What's your prediction for the fight, then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
What you probably did not know about Mr. T was that he was born Laurence Tureaud, one of 12 children, and he chose the name Mr. T for a very specific reason. Mr. T says, and I quote per Wikipedia, I think about my father being called boy, my uncle being called boy, my brother coming back from Vietnam and being called boy. So I question myself, what does a black man have to do before he's given respect as a man? So when I was 18 years old, when I was old enough to fight and die for my country, old enough to drink, old enough to vote, I said I was old enough to be called a man. I self-ordained myself Mr. T. So the first word out of everybody's mouth is Mr.
A bunch of my friends get together for what you call a Christmas celebration. Nothing fancy, sort of like a family reunion.
I bet you didn't have any family.
I said I didn't have any relatives, but I got lots of friends. And this family here, we're like family.
I wish that's what I had.
What's interesting is that in 1984, the program execs at NBC knew the history of Laurence Tureaud, that he chose the name Mr. T for the reason that he did, and that he was indeed a multifaceted guy who chose to play a tough guy. The T, he said, stands for tough for the guys and for tender for the ladies. But they casted him knowing all of this, and in a primetime Christmas special that everyone was watching. And they did so because they knew that he had the ability to represent something that maybe very few other actors could do at the time. Relate to everyone.
Well, I guess we're even, because all of my friends wish we had a mother and father to share Christmas with.
My parents don't share Christmas with me. You know what I am? I'm a latchkey kid. My parents leave in the morning, and I don't see them until at night.
Before I continue, it is only proper for me to give proper kudos to the intellectual property that I'm about to use from Trussed. She has a saying that black men are elite, and she says it often in many different places because, one, is true, and two, black men need to hear it. And you're going to hear exactly how true it is when you hear Mr. T address the big problem of the 1980s, latchkey kids, and how they are dealing with two parents working and not being at home and the emotional issues that came from it. Here with Webster.
Oh, what do your folks do all day?
They work.
Oh, you got those kind of parents. I don't blame you for being so mad. They go out and work hard all day long so they can make enough money to give you a nice place to live in. Parents sure sound mean. No wonder you're sour about Christmas.
It should go without saying that when I say that black men are elite, I'm not saying that other people are not elite. I am simply saying that black men that come from the African American experience, the grandfathers that had to be who they had to be in order to survive in America, our great-great-grandfathers, our fathers who had to be the men that they had to be to survive in America, made a special group of people, specifically men. And this is a man who had been cast as a tough guy, front and center on network television at a time where there were only 3 stations that would show this kind of live programming on their networks. And here's Mr. T teaching not just America, but specifically latchkey kids that just because their mother and father had to work didn't mean that their mother and father didn't love them because they weren't at home. In fact, he was the point man to teach this generation of kids. Listen to Mr. T. Listen to him. He's telling you kids, your parents love you. They just have to work.
We couldn't afford a lot of material things in life, so we concentrated on the more important things.
Like what?
Like what? You wake up Christmas morning and find your mother and father alive and healthy. Merry Christmas.
And presents doesn't matter?
No, not really. It all depends. Christmas without presents, it ain't that bad. But Christmas without love, that's bad. Christmas without friendship, that's bad. Christmas without hope, that's bad. But Christmas without sharing, that's real bad.
Much of the conversation around Passport Bros centers around dating young ladies, and there's no problem with that. That's fair. But there are many other factions to going overseas, including integrating into cultures and learning languages. And one of the reasons why I am so big on guys learning language is because not only can you take from the culture, but you can offer to the culture. Because often you'll meet young people, you'll meet elder people, you'll meet curious people that are interested in not just what they can get from you, but they want to learn how to be a little bit like you, how to live life a little bit the way that you live it. And one thing that's special about us as Black men, and I think that this is our superpower, as can be seen with Mr. T being the headliner for a NBC Christmas special, is that we're good at improvisation. We're good at wearing many hats, at adapting. We're not just entertainers. I think entertaining is a way that we express these capabilities, but all in all, we have the ability to adapt to different situations and add when we have very little in our pockets. And because of this ability that we have, if we go overseas with a very attentive ear and we're listening twice as much as we speak, and we are going overseas to learn languages and learn culture, we can see when we get there, some of these cultures have quote unquote holes in them, where we, with our innate ability to adapt, can not just notice, but can add to them. And I think that that is a superpower that Black men specifically have that we can offer when we go overseas, if we're looking to add just as much as we're looking to take. And I would like guys to understand that Black men are elite. And if you have your ears open and you are an open-minded guy, you can see that the cultures overseas are not just offering, but they have places where a Mr. T or even a Webster can supplement and, dare I say, help them adapt their culture to the modern environment in ways that they probably can't see until you even get there. So when you get there, don't just be looking to take, look to learn, and sooner or later, you'll see places where you can give. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.